Hi, everybody. It is 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have no water while I'm sitting here, and I'm like 2 minutes late, so I'm sorry. Today is one of those days that it's kind of should be like, hey, clockwork, Tuesday. This is what time we get up. This is what time we do this. I show up live. You guys say hi. And none of it's really going like that. But that's okay. Okay. So, good morning. Hi, you guys. It takes some time before people are getting in the room, right? And I may like sneak off camera and grab my water because it takes today's like a jumbled Tuesday. I am going to take live questions for live tarot card readings at the end of the hour. Or maybe like at the halfway mark. It kind of depends on today. This is going to be a shift for us on Tuesdays, that every Tuesday, good morning, you guys, I will do live tarot card pulls, but it'll be at either the half-hour mark or like at the 40-minute mark, and we'll do the end of the hour of all single card tarot reading. Okay, so for those of you who know how this goes, most of you all are joining me on YouTube. Let's hope the connection like sticks, because we've had some trouble with it in the last few weeks, and on Instagram as well. Hi y'all. Hi Mama. Hi Helena. Good morning. So for everybody who knows how the live tarot polls go, as people join us in the room, if I'm chit-chatting and running my mouth, if you guys can help like you usually do in the comments, for the live tarot card readings, post a question. When I say time, you all will type in your question. First come, first serve. It must be posed in a way that can be answered yes or no, because I'll do single card polls. Thank you. Hi. Yeah, oh, good. I'm glad you guys like the change. It's funny because doing live tarot readings every Tuesday has honestly been my intention to do live tarot readings more often on the new YouTube channel. This is part of why I launched a whole separate channel from my old one, because I really wanted to be able to do this every week. And then we talked about a lot of different, I don't know. So it's a change, but it really was my original intention. So there you go. So when we get to the tarot card poll section, you will type your question in a way that can be answered yes or no. Past the yes or no, then I'll channel whatever additional information that comes through. And I'll do probably up to 10. That's usually about what we've got time for and about what my energy can do at this speed before I'm a little too zapped. Okay, so I'm going to sneak off camera 2 seconds and grab my water so that I'm not like coughing on you all. If you don't need anything, go get it now. And then just this first part of it on Tuesdays is usually the tangent part, right? I like to bring you guys the astrology if it's super intense and I feel like we really need to work with it, right? And then things that come channeled through that need to be given and passed to you all as a community. But today is truly a tangent. I do have some notes. Maybe I'm just extra fired up today for I don't know why. Moon's in Gemini. I already had my birthday. It's my son, month. But I've had a lot of interesting connections with clients and with women, as I always do within the weeks. And certain things just stand out, right? They're really loud. And so today is a genuine tangent. I definitely want you all to weigh in on what I'm going to chit-chat about, and share your opinions of it and your thought processes of it as well. Here's the order that I have them in, and I don't know that this will stick or not. So we'll chit chat for a little bit, then we'll get to the tarot card readings, I promise. So we've done a lot of work as a collective for UnicornWellness.Studio and Unicorn Wellness fans and members and community, and on this channel with the mother and the father wounds, right? I think we're pretty familiar with those at this point as a collective. And if you're not familiar, then awesome. Then you're here for a reason. You're going to hear about them and you're going to work through them. Each teacher, each facilitator, each book you'd ever read has a slightly different take on these things. I'm really interested in them in the purpose of ancestral wounds and familial wounds that we heal as a collective. So the basic of a mother or a father wound is that these are the wounds of your mothers and fathers. It can apply to the grandmothers and grandfathers, okay? And that these are their wounds that they have not healed or did not heal in their lifetime for whatever reason. They were unaware. They didn't have the resources they were in too much fear, whatever, no guilt, no shame. These are the wounds of the parents that they did not heal. They get passed down to us in one shape or form. So when we work one-on-one or in our collective tarot readings, right? My perspective on tarot readings is to give you insight and guidance for the next best steps forward, always to the highest expression of your soul in this lifetime. That sounds pretty big and lofty, right? Knowing that when we ask for the next best steps, usually we get some really mundane, pedantic, like day-to-day stuff. That's the beauty of healing and allowing your soul to evolve and really getting past some stuff in order to empower yourself and to empower those around you to be of use and of help to the collective, okay? So mother and father wounds are big and they're deep, right? These are things that last for generations. And we are being called as a collective. Thank you, Becky. We are being called as a collective, really being pushed at them. The last 3 years in particular, and actually the last 7 years, were a major push for the mother wound, okay? And in readings and in one-on-ones when I work on you all, I do talk about, and I want it to be more known, that we can cognitively work on the things that we know need changing. Like if we have a very pessimistic point of view, if we understand that our issues are in worthiness or unworthiness, wherever our traumas are, right? This is where the work is in healing. And that no matter cognitively what we think we're doing or what we are doing, it's always the subconscious that's driving the bus. And I love to reference the Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus books because I have 2 littles and those books are hysterical and really true. It's like, don't let the pigeon drive the bus. Don't let the subconscious drive the bus. Meanwhile, it's always driving the bus. So the issue of the subconscious is it working from a wounded space? Because this is like, whoop, whoop, flag, listen up. Those who are seekers, those who are working on their healing, those who know that they have trauma and are actively trying to heal, we can be actively, cognitively trying to heal, but the subconscious is still driving the bus. This is still stuck in unworthiness and smallness and there's not a space for me in the world, and I don't count. What I want doesn't matter. And the things that people told me I believe to be true, even if they're at their worst detriment, right? So the subconscious is always driving the bus. Make no mistake about it. And our subconscious is layers of our culture, of our ancestors, and of those who raised us and our basic experiences, mostly from the ages of 0 to 3, but that's so arguable of like where that range is, right? So the mother and father wounds run deep. And as a collective, we've been pushed because Chiron was in Pisces. I don't want to trip over my words here because it'll get more confusing. In the last 7 years. And that has pushed us to look at the mother wound, which is also the rise of the divine feminine, also, the patriarchal culture and smashing the patriarchy. This is a return of the divine feminine. But in order to return the divine feminine, we have to know where the wounds of the feminine are. And that does come from our mothers. And so we've talked in other videos about that. It's not just from the moment that we are born that we know our mothers. Women carry their eggs from the moment they're born. So we are with our mothers their entire lifetime. And from a cellular memory level, we have experienced everything that they have experienced. We have heard everything that they have heard. We have soaked up everything that they have been a part of or been in conflict with. So the mother wound, it sounds like, oh my God, so big. And I'm not totally going to hound on the mother wound today. It's just that we've been working as a collective to heal that. And when you can identify what the wound of your mother is, then you can start to work with how it affects you and how it has affected you. I always share mine, as a like, hey, I don't know anything that you all don't know. I'm here to help you remember and to step into it. But I'm also here to guide. I've always said this about anything that you're teaching. It's not that the teacher knows more. It's just that we're further up ahead on the path with a flashlight, shouting back, like try how to help, how to make your path more efficient, how to make it less of a struggle, and how to help. That's all. So, my mother wounds are pretty layered. Like I was given up for adoption. The mother that adopted me was highly abusive in every way. So there's all these layers of unworthiness. But if I can step out of some of those things and look at both of my mothers and look at where their hurts and their wounds were, then I can understand why they made the choices and the things that they did, right? That everybody really genuinely is doing the very best that they can. And some people's best is just horrid. Like it's really bad. But then you can look at how they Sorry, my phone's ringing. That's hysterical. How they dealt with it and how it got passed on to you, right? And so then you get to know, how can I start to heal those things? Because I'm aware of what they were and where they came from. Okay, so mother and then father wounds become a whole nother thing. Same thing, different story. And now that Chiron has moved into Aries, in the next 8 years, we're going to be dealing with the father wound. This also has to do with the patriarchy. This also has to do with their placement and understanding of themselves emotionally and how they've been taught and conditioned to express themselves emotionally. The father wound does call on us to look at anger and how we deal with anger. And this anger is not always a bad thing. I'm not downing anger. Anger points to where the passion is. And anger is really loud sadness. It's where you haven't been heard and where you haven't been able to express in a more, genuine, deep, constructive way. It just bursts out and we all get angry. So it's not about shaming certain emotions or shaming and neglecting certain aspects of how we function as humans. It's about understanding and how do we work with them better so that we evolve for the better, right? So the mother and father wounds have been high on the spectrum of, where the goods are for healing. And so the three topics today are the, mother, father wound, just a reminder that that's the subconscious that ends up driving the bus, right? And so we need to heal. The second bit is the sister wound, which I've only barely touched on, which is strange, but I think it's brewing because it's coming up today. The sister wound actually doesn't have to do with your sisters. It could, but it doesn't have to. And you don't have to have siblings to deal with the sister wound. It is mostly the wound of women to women and women degrading and putting down other women. Okay. And this is the sister wound. And this is a wound of the collective, big time. This is a wound of the patriarchal culture. This is a wound of unworthiness, right? And then this becomes the way that we engage in a toxic masculinity culture that we have all been raised in, men and women. In order to succeed or to survive, it is a bit of every woman, every man for themselves. And I think historically we can trace this back to the witch trials and where this idea of witch comes from and being good or bad and selling people out for false perspectives and just trying to save yourself. So again, not shame and blame and anger of, that it happened, understanding why it happened, again, the constructs of a patriarchal culture coming in, trying to pull things apart, really disempowering women who were the herbalists, who were the midwives, who were the lay women and the lay healers. These were the people doing the healings in these small communities who didn't have a lot of resources. The patriarchal culture did come in, and it is connected to religion and it is connected to Christianity, like it or not. Again, no judgment, understanding the history and the pattern of what went on so that we can make it better. That's it. But they came in and started, naming women as witches and it being evil and connected to the devil because they were capable of healing and helping. This was a direct hit on the fact that men were going into medicine and clinical medicine and Western medicine was up and coming, and they wanted money and resources to be spent there. So they went on the attack of the witches and the women in order to discredit any healing capacity and helping capacity that they had. The wound of the sister wound, is that in order to save themselves, some women were selling out their neighbors and their best friends and their sisters and pointing the finger that they were witches in order to keep the attention off of them. It's simple as that. So the sister wound, and bringing it up today, because this has been around and around and around in the collective. I went to an all-women's college, and I say that because, one, I'm really proud of it. Two, I did not understand the benefit and the impact and the implication of it until maybe, 10 years ago, right? And that it creates such an interesting woman and an interesting person in the world to understand the political and the personal, and the political is personal, and the history of feminism, right? And that when you give women a place to really have a voice and to not be judged and to not be put down by the sister wounds, you create some really fascinating people in the world that are very different than those that did not have that experience, for the most part, okay? So lately I've been having a lot of the experience of when you start to do well in the world and I don't mean money, resources, when you start to feel good, when you start to be proud of who you are and what you do in a very comfortable way. Because on UnicornWellness.Studio, we talk about healing. We talk about stepping into our empowerment. We talk about taking up more space in the world, and that techniques and the habits and the things that we can do to help us do that. I teach the practical tactics to get you or as many people to a place of feeling good in themselves, right? Feeling capable, feeling worthy, feeling self-love. And how that shows up in the world can be anything, right? And the sister wound, man, lately it starts coming back in all kinds of weird ways. The sister wound at its basic is that it is also ingrained in our subconscious culture. It is part of what allowed and allows the patriarchal culture to continue, is that we're picking at each other, downplaying each other, poking and prodding, saying nasty, passive aggressive things. And the fascinating thing is, this is, again, not out of judgment of the people who say it, or if and when I've been on the receiving end of it, or if and when you've been on the receiving end of it. It's that it sounds so loud to me right now, because I'm genuinely in a place when people say something, I go, no, that's not true. Like, actually, I'm really happy. And no, that's your stuff that you're projecting. That's not mine. And it's the loudest it's ever been because I'm in a comfortable, happy space. It's taken a lot of time, a lot of transition, a lot of muck to get here. But the sister wound is when people really start saying these weird passive aggressive things to undercut their sisters, right? And that these are the microaggressions that allowed patriarchy to get such a foothold. And this is not, again, please hear me, this is not about blame and shame and this and that. But as women, I think sometimes in a patriarchal culture, as we go through to healing and empowerment and trying to find our own space and our own empowerment, it can turn into fighting against people, and it can turn into pointing fingers in the opposite direction. And I'm not saying we're completely responsible for it, but there are both sides of the coin, right? A patriarchal culture was allowed to arise. We are citizens. We are a part of this planet. We have allowed this to also take hold. Part of why it's being smashed is because the only reason it's being smashed and changing and the rise of the divine feminine is being allowed is that, one, it's time, and two, we're not being quiet anymore. And so we've taken this loudness and the not being quiet, and it has been mostly mirrored towards men, and let's be honest, white Caucasian men, that we're like turning, you can't say that anymore. You can't do that anymore. I'm not letting you get away with that. But I'm kind of raising my hand a little bit that we need to be accountable to each other with the sister wound. That sisters, you can't do that anymore. Like, that's not okay. Pointing the finger at somebody else and being passive aggressive or blatantly aggressive about things you don't like or wish you it's just so, like, people are mean and poke and make fun and highlight because there's something in it that pushes them. You trigger something in them. I'm going to raise my hand that for forever, I was like, I don't understand why I trigger certain people in a certain age range just really consistently. And even my husband's like, holy shit, like, you are the nicest person on the planet, but there are some people who just cannot do you. And it's taken time for me to understand that and honor that and embrace it and go, okay, not everybody's cup of tea. I want everybody like me. Ain't gonna happen. But why is there's this certain demographic that really doesn't like me? And so, Helena, right? Truth on this. We have to call each other out a little bit. And I mean in constructive ways. And I sat through something yesterday that was somebody that I know is a friend, that is a female who is on a spiritual seeking healing path, who is having some troubles and difficulties, and I allow for all of those things. But because I'm in a very constructive place, she was really doing and saying very clear, very, very clear things to try to diminish, demean, and make me feel lesser than. And I wasn't even mean about it, and I actually didn't even say a whole lot. I just wasn't having it. Right? And we need to call each other out. And so saying this in this conversation about the sister wound in the Unicorn Wellness community is almost a little bit like preaching to the choir. Honestly, the group of mostly women, or those who identify as women in the constructs of community of unicorn wellness. We would never say stuff like this. That's one reason why you're a unicorn. Okay, that's number one. So there's a little bit of me like being charged up, and it's Tangent Tuesday, Tarot Tuesday, whatever you want to call it. I just think it's really important at this stage of our collective healing and our personal healing to be aware of the people you're spending time with and what you allow them to say, what you say if we're saying things to each other. I'm sure I've done it. I don't want to be that person. I'm sure I'm human, right? And again, this is cultural. I was raised by a mother who was highly judgmental and highly abusive. And if you weren't pretty, then you didn't count. And if I didn't have lipstick on, I wasn't dressed. So there are all kinds of these tiny microaggressions that I grew up with that I see come out in my parenting of perfectionism, and believe me, I'm working on it. But as sisters, we got to hold space for each other, and we have to give forgiveness to each other, and we have to be accountable to each other. We play a part in the overall spectrum. If we stand here and simply point the finger at Caucasian males as the patriarchal culture, then we are literally, a part of the problem. If you are not a part of the solution, then you're a part of the problem. And inclusivity matters. And I'm not an expert, not in the least, but how about just inclusivity for each other? And I couldn't believe the experience I had yesterday. It was really a little bit mind-boggling of the things that were said to me and how uncomfortable this person was with me being in a place where I was happy. People do like you to be in a place of discomfort. When, you ask somebody, how are you? Be ready for a real answer, because what they either want to hear is fine, or they want to hear the complaint. Right? How things are going poorly and badly. And I used to very much do that, or make things up that were demeaning or were going poorly or badly to make other people feel comfortable. We want to share our true stories, and we have all been in places of discomfort and bad times, and it's life. It's going to be uncomfortable and bad at times. But we have to be clear as to where we keep our vibration and our resonance. And this poking and prodding at other women is like, it's interesting because, going to an all-women's college, the sister wound is mostly what's discussed, is how we take each other down in these passive-aggressive ways in order to save ourselves. And it's I don't want to say it is necessary. It's not necessary anymore. I think it used to be, right? Like, if you don't sell somebody out, they're coming for you. And it's a big piece of healing. Okay, is we start to recognize where we're poking at others because it's ourselves that needs that healing. It always points to a super harsh internal self-criticism, right? And that typically points to the mother-father wound of harsh self-criticism. And it's always being directed, right? Modeled behavior becomes your behavior. I totally understand that. But I just felt like today on the tangent aspect of things, one, that the sister wound really needs to be pointed out. It made me so sad for this person, but I'm also kind of reached my limit. Fuck that. I've worked really hard at being in a good place, in healing, and showing up for my friends and my community and my clients. I've never said anything derogatory or rude or anything honestly but supportive to this person. And I got all kinds of weird passive things. I know for a fact that she didn't mean it, and that she wasn't even aware. It was this, subconscious behavior. And I just thought, I felt a little bit like Wonder Woman, because every time it happened, it wasn't even conscious. It was like the gold bracelets where I was like, ping, ping, like just deflect, I don't have to make a big deal out of it. I didn't particularly take it personally. I was proud at how I received it. But I thought, these are the microaggressions as women that we've been experiencing our entire lives. And so for those that you're still experiencing it, I just want to put a flag up. You shouldn't be experiencing it anymore. You need to call it out, at least softly, and say, no, that's really actually not what's happening here. And I want to be really clear, when it comes to women, it's usually within our looks. It's like what we're wearing, how our hair is, the makeup that we're wearing. It's so surface and so undermining. So just please don't be that person. And if people are engaging in that way with you, start to speak up in all the tiny and mighty ways, and just say, I yesterday what I did was a lot of, no, that's actually not the case, but thank you. No, thank you. You know what I mean? Like this very small, like set the boundary, put the brick back on their plate. Like don't let it weigh you down. So y'all are awfully quiet out there. So it really is a tangent Tuesday because I'm just running my mouth. But I woke up today like with this fierce, like I am so tired of playing small in any capacity. I want to be of the most help to you all as humanly possible in the world, and maybe non-humanly possible. That I teach because I struggled in a lot of different ways, mostly emotionally and out of worthiness issues, but there were physical, and you all know it, health issues that came out of that I still manage and deal with. And if I can do it, so can you. And I want to be your support, and I want to be the good sister to you all, because we just do a number on each other, and we're pointing fingers like we're all, responsible for things. But I think culturally right now, the loudness is being pointed at men, as it should be. They're responsible too, but we are the mothers. We have been raising these men, and we are a part of the community and the culture and the society. And we have said okay to so many of these things. And not only have we said okay to these things, we've turned on each other. Like, that's just bullshit. And I don't want to do it anymore. And I don't want to sit in that room. And I want to be a part of the solution and not a part of the problem in whatever way that is. So I think part of it is just saying it. Like, I used to sit in those situations and feel completely unworthy, feel like I was the one that was wrong. There was something wrong with me, either for being happy or for not doing enough for somebody else. And I just don't take that, like, it doesn't resonate that way anymore, because the healing has happened. Not that there isn't more healing to do. It's always a process. But I just thought, I wasn't even mad at her. I actually felt really bad. And I thought, how do we unravel this as a culture, as a community? And the answer always comes back for me, just keep doing what I'm doing. Just teach the movement, teach the fuel, teach the spiritual ritual, and just have these conversations, because she wasn't even aware that it was going on. Like, not even aware. And I just, with the remembering of who we are, where it comes from, that it is ingrained in our subconscious programming, that most of us are doing it, and people that do it, they don't even know that they're doing it. And there's a lack of self-love and a lack of self-worth, but we just cannot keep rolling the shit downhill to the next person. We have to handle our own shit, right? And so I'm just like on the soapbox today. Oh, good mama. Right? And so this is okay. So Moon Magic just said in on YouTube that she's been a member of the sisterhood for so long that it's shocking and disappointing when you realize others are clearly not. And so I really am preaching to the choir today, I think. But I am, because you all, have to be the priestesses. You have to be the high priestesses too, that go out and help other people. And every time you say no and put that boundary up, that this is not something you get to comment on, that helps the whole of it, right? So part of this is like the rally of the team and of the unicorns, like, go show up, keep doing it. It's hard, it's tiring, it's sad, but it's really important. Like, it's really important. And this sister wound is shocking, and you go outside of the community of unicorns or of your people, and then you're like, oh, ow, what? This is what it's like? Okay, I don't really want to people anymore. And I feel like that, you guys. My moon's in Pisces. I'm super sensitive and super psychic. And sometimes being literally out with people is exhausting and sad. And like, I'm just going to go home. And I'm going to go back to my unicorns. But that doesn't always help either, right? We do have to do teaching. We do have to show up and model behavior. And we have to help others understand, merely in the way that we show up every day, that when those things are said to us, that we kindly and clearly deflect. And I don't mean deflect. I mean, put it back on the damn plate. Like, they serve you a lump of coal. You know what? I didn't order that. That's yours. Put it back in your pocket. Hopefully it'll turn into a diamond at some point, but don't hand me that. We are all on that receiving end of things. There's no question about it. It's just whether or not we notice it, because the normalization of things, right? We normalize that this is how people engage, and women are rude and catty and bitchy. No, they're not all that way. We as a collective are not that way. So like, we have to remember, and I'm going to say this, even in our partnerships and especially in our families, because remember, I started with the mother and father wound. It starts there. We may not be able to heal their wound, right? But we cannot take on the injury. We are at a place in time where we can break those chains and those limitations and not carry them further for our children right now. As much as I'm working on things, is it perfect? No, but I am trying to break it, or at least like shrink it for them and the next generation. So you have to put up those, no, thank you. No, actually, that's not correct. Like, and as women and as unicorns, we tend to think of everyone else so much that we allow them to be correct when they're not. And then they go on thinking that it's okay. And so, Liz, on Instagram, I know that you and I've talked about this, but I'm just, now it's feeling really loud, of like when you went to dinner with a friend and what their commentary was on a certain bag or a certain scarf somebody was carrying, right? Those are the moments of like, be clear that when it comes to women, we're still working in this surface. How do we look? What are we wearing? What is going on? I had on my gorgeous birthday earrings yesterday, and they're spacers. Like, they're meant to hang heavy because they're meant to start to create space for the spacers, people, you know, so they're heavy. And it was like, this person pointed out that your earrings are too heavy for your ears. And I said, no, they're not. They are heavy and they are pulling. That's actually part of their purpose, because you can put spacers in them and then link them in, and they're meant to be heavy, and they're actually meant to pull the skin and elongate it. And like, that was just one of those like things that as we become more aware, we get to respond faster. Because I think in the beginning, I'm going to go back to the comments here too. We start to have it happen. We say nothing because we're so shocked by it, or we don't recognize it. And then we go home and then we're like, oh my God, they totally said that to me. And then you want to like, then you're like, shit, I missed my moment. Well, I'm really big on you all not missing your moments. Yes, we're human. Yes, we will be shocked. We won't always know how to respond in the moment. I'm a big fan of getting home and going, wait a minute, that was actually really rude and hurtful. And that doesn't work for me. And I'm very big on waiting 48 hours to see if you still feel that way, right? Is it my feelings, or is it actually the feels of what really happened? And being able to pick up the phone, send a text or an email, and have that conversation in a very adult, mature way of like, you know, when you said this the other day, I just need to say this in response to it. I was shocked. It was hurtful. I don't feel like it was very constructive. Actually, it was very demeaning. You know, make them uncomfortable and awkward in the rude, mean things that they say, not in how you feel them, right? Not all of our feelings are true. I talk about that in the Unicorn Wellness Handbook, but the feels are. And sometimes we need time and space to sift like, okay, so that triggered me, right? And this is where the volley happens. Somebody says something, and as people seeking healing, we go, we know that our response is always about ourselves, not about them, right? But that's not true. Some people say shitty things, and your response is in direct relationship to what they said that was not okay. So there is no one single rule, and especially in healing. And there is no one single rule in wounding. We have to play, when you're in relationship, there is a 50-50 or a 90-10. And now we have to start taking up space in more of the 50-50. Does that make sense, you guys? I know it's a full tangent today. So there you go. I'm going to look at the comments. I have one little closing bit, and then we'll get to the tarot readings. I promise. Oh, good, Becky. Well, that's the point. We're not alone. And as a collective, we're not alone. And as a community, we're not alone. You all are all unicorns for a reason, right? You know, like attracts like. You know, your vibe attracts your tribe. I know who you all are. I do. And I see you at your highest resonance and the most loving. Meanwhile, we're all human, and we all like are working with these subconscious patternings and cultural patternings and our wounds. So today I just felt really like needed to say it, because I wasn't even angry yesterday. I was more sad for this person. And I just thought, I walked out of there going, man, I know I've probably been that to somebody before. I do not want to be that person again, right? You know, little thumper. If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. Like, I get that it's her hurt and her wounding being put back. I just don't, we have to help solve it. That's all. We have to help make it better. I don't say fix, because I don't know that we can just fix it, but we have to help make it better. Right. And so this like certain friends pearl thing, it's like, those are not your friends. Those are not your family. And I have lived a life where I have had my family, I've been married twice, I had a first marriage, and other extended family, they say some terrible things about me, y'all. And I have to go, okay, how much of that have I earned? How much of that is mine? What do I need to look at? And then I'm like, no, this is because they can't deal with joy or happiness. Like, I step up, I do my work, I sit in my tears and my anger, and I let people say things, and then I listen. And it's like, there comes a point where you're like, this is actually your stuff. And there's a lack of self-love and self-understanding, and that's okay. But I don't need to be on the receiving end of that at all, actually. I don't. So you all don't need to be on the receiving end of that at all. But you have to help yourself, and you have to be, yeah, exactly. You have to be your own healer. I'm looking at the comments, and again, one more little wrap-up thing, just for the tangent part. Oh, see, okay, so Becky on YouTube, she's in the process of rallying and full-on unicornness with an aunt and father, as the question keep coming from them as, how did you heal? Okay, so here's where, actually that's a perfect transition, Becky, and the last little bit of tangent before we go to the cards, is that what I realize and what I see and what I'm experiencing is that people can do, if we talk about doing the work, right? When we're in a healing capacity and in a healing community and in healing circles, and that can apply to analytical therapy aspects of things, self-help books. It applies to UnicornWellness.Studio, of getting on the mat, looking at your food, in meditation and in the tarot. How do you heal, right? So we've talked about the spectrum of healing before. It's in an old YouTube video at this point. I really feel like that's my next book, is the spectrum of healing, because you can do the work. And I think that the work tends to sound like to people going to therapy, right? If that's a choice and the right thing for you. Having tarot card readings, if that's a choice and it works for you. And hiring people and getting Reiki and getting massage. Like, these are self-care components, but this is also the work. However, you can do a lot of work and never heal. Does that make sense? So y'all throw a little emoji or little comments up on this one, okay? That you can, hear me again, you can do the work and never heal. The work is earnest, right? Okay, I'm spending money, I'm going to do these things, I'm putting my time here, okay? And you can, all, journaling and talking to people and communicating. The work won't heal you alone and of itself. It won't. That's what I know. I know this for myself. I also know this from the perspective of being a coach and a personal trainer and, life coach, whatever you want to call me. You're healer and you're psychic. That when you do tarot readings in particular and in personal training, people hire you because they think that by spending money, it will solve something. This is my next tangent too, of like people who won't invest in the online subscription because they need to be in person with something. That's a whoop flag. They want it to be social. They want to pay somebody else. And because it's in person, they think that's going to do the healing for them. Healing is not external. Healing is internal. So you can pay for the readings, you can get, and they are the first step. You have to explore. You've got to show up. You've got to try that. I'm not downing. But look at how long you are investing in therapy, in the self-help books, in the workshops, in the readings, and then look at the reflection of your life or how you feel. If your joy and empowerment and comfortability quotient has not gone up personally, you're not healing. And if the externalness of your life, who's in it, who's out of it, how you function, your abundance levels, love levels don't go up, you're not in healing. Now, not every stage and cycle is healing. This is not to freak anybody out, because you will have long stretches of doing the work and feeling like things aren't showing up. But I'm really talking about like long stretches of time, like 10 years, because 10 years is the mastery moment. right? 2 and 3 years tends to be the cycle of a unicorn of manifestation. I do believe that a 2 and 3 year cycle is totally normal for healing, that some things will happen quickly, but that 2 and 3 years start to bring out the, oh, okay, yep, something has really shifted and very much changed energetically in myself, functionally in my outer world in these 2 and 3 years. But if you've been doing things for like a 10-year process and nothing has shifted, you may be doing the work, but you're not healing. So spending money and showing up is it doesn't mean that healing happens. So then how does healing happen? The first question I used to ask my personal training clients is, can you trust me? Can you give up ownership of how things are going to happen? Some people couldn't say yes. Some people were like, no, I need to be in control of it. I need it to happen like this. I need it to look like this. And then I wouldn't be their coach or their trainer anymore. And one of the things that I like to ask, in particular when we do the deep dive sessions, do you trust me? Can you trust me? And then the next is, can you be wrong? Are you willing to be wrong? In order to heal, you have to be willing to be wrong. Because a lot of our rightness and our righteousness and needing to be right about how it went wrong, whose fault it is, how it gets better, and how that better happens, that thwarts our healing. When you're willing to heal, when you're totally open and you're just so done that you're like, I don't care how this happens, I don't care what I have to do, and I don't care what I have to change, that is the instigation of healing right there. And you know me, the other instigation, a moment of healing, is in a reading, and I typically only see this in readings. When you get to the moment of tears, that's an instigation of healing, because tears typically in a reading signal, yep, this is where I haven't shown up for myself, and that's really sad, and I'm sorry for myself. Not sorry in a bad way, like a moment of forgiveness. So, how healing happens, you do have to put the work and the time in, that's for sure, but you also have to be willing to be really wrong as to how healing happens. And as humans and as cognitive beings, we think it looks like a certain way, feels like a certain way. And then I will tell you from a facilitator standpoint, your resistance to how it's going to happen is the downfall of you. I used to say that in personal training, right, just in physical movement, I loved having actors as clients. Why? Because they're really good at taking direction. They know that they're there to absorb expertise, not to rework it, right? And there's also another level of fitness where everybody thinks there's an expert. No, that's a whole nother tangent. But that if you are willing to take direction and to trust in a process that you don't understand or know the outcome and almost can't really, then you're ready to heal. But every time I do a reading for somebody and they want to reword the cards or reflect it in a different way, I go, it's not happening, because there's insight, there's direction here, and they are unwilling to take it, right? That's when healing won't happen. Or it just, I'm trying to watch the clock and I want to have time. So you guys, I'm throwing a lot out there today. The two biggest things is the sister wound. Don't let it keep happening. I genuinely don't think that the unicorns on Unicorn Wellness are those wielding the wounds of the sisterhood, right? I don't. I think that's part of why we gather together, because we genuinely love each other. Your successes are my successes, and vice versa. Yeah. Oh, good, Jen. Yeah, it's like how healing happens. There's the spectrum of healing that we've talked about before, that you need certain steps to happen in order to heal, that those steps can happen out of order, or they may need to happen multiple times, and that some healing won't completely leave your life. Some wounds don't ever fully heal, but they do get lighter and they do get better. One, you have to be willing to be wrong. You have to be willing to change anything and everything and not only have it in certain little boxes the way it turns out. And you have to be willing to let that shit go. If you are clinging to your victimhood and clinging to the wound and clinging to the people that hurt you, not happening. You have to be willing to clear people out of your life. You have to be willing to clear habits out of your life. And you have to be willing to take responsibility for that. Look, I know where I rub people the wrong way, and it's not always a benefit to me. I also know where my bad habits can be of great benefit to me. So it's, with great power comes great responsibility. We got a Spider-Man thing happening here. As a Taurus, okay, Taurus sun, it's Taurus season. I want what I want, when I want, how I want it, or I don't want it at all. That's not always helpful in life. That can be a real perfectionist snafu, right? That can also really not allow for the messiness of people and relationships and the magic of life. But it also keeps me very safe and very clear. If it's not a fit for me, it's not a fit, and I need to let it go. And I don't need to try to figure out how to make everybody my friend or make every dress on the rack fit me. They're not all going to fit. Does that make sense and help? Okay, I'm going to assume that I'm going to get a lot of DMs and a lot of emails about today, but I want us to have time for some tarot readings. On Instagram, I'm going to take the Instagram questions first because I'll stay a little bit longer on YouTube to do questions. I'll do up to 10, okay? So everybody take a breath. I just feel on the precipice of big change and of standing up a little bit louder, and I want you all to do the same, but mostly I want you to feel not alone and empowered. And I also want you to not feel crazy, because the world makes women crazy, right? Because then our crazy gets pushed off. We're so emotional and she totally overreacted. No, she didn't. You overstepped boundaries and were rude. So we all have to have each other's support and courage to all these tiny micro things, they add up. Don't think they don't. So the tiny, tiny, tiny changes and boundaries make way for big changes, okay, as a collective and in your own life. All right, I promise I'm done now. Okay, questions. Write them out in a manner that your question can be answered yes or no. I will answer up to 10. I'm going to take questions on Instagram first because I can stay longer on YouTube. I saw that correct. And then from here, okay, I'll take up to 10 questions. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to start with the Instagram questions. All right, Pearl, should I stay on naturopath protocol I am on right now? I like that question. Should you stay on the naturopath protocol you are on right now? And if you guys want on Instagram, have questions, type them up because that one will expire. It'll turn off at that hour mark. So I want to get you guys in first. Should you stay on the naturopath protocol you are on right now? This is for Pearl. Yes, that's a yes, and it's beautiful. And I'll hold it up here in just a second. This is the Fool. I don't know. There. I can put it on both YouTube and Instagram. There you go. But I'll give you a little close up. That's a yes, Pearl, because the Fool is the very first card of the tarot. Major arcana, so this is at a soul level. This is fresh starts and new beginnings and a brand new adventure. So I think what I hear is that the protocol is helping you clean the slate and helping clear things out, that you're going to have a new path and a new way of doing. So yes, stay on it. Wasn't the Fool in our weekly tarot reading also? Just going to throw that out. Okay. I don't see you guys typing on Instagram, so here we go, YouTube. Let's see. Okay, Becky, do I have too high of expectations for my children? That's like a trick question. Something in me wants to reward that, but then I think I'm just being picky. Okay, let's go with that, Becky. Are your expectations too high for your children? No, this is a no, and it's a beautiful card. I'm trying to hold it in place that both Instagram and YouTube can see it, but closer for YouTube. That's a no, because Page of Swords is really beautiful, and she's so angelic and like positive and constructive here. So Page of Swords in this deck, and in particular, it's like swords are intellect, human thoughts, and words, right? And our subconscious programming. So it's know your expectations aren't too high. What's happening here is that you're learning how to guide them in a better way for the higher and greatest good. But this card in particular, I love it because she's pretty, like, that sword's giant. And if you've ever picked up a real sword, they are fucking heavy, you know, like they're big and heavy. And she's not like a big dude, right? Or a particularly large female. Like, so this is about wielding the words and the subconscious programming and learning how to do it. So I hear that some of the words, right, and some of the ways in which you're trying to get them to come to their expectations It might be a little too harsh and a little too heavy, but you're learning how to wield your words and guide them. It's like you're trying to guide them towards the highest and greatest good, but the implementation is a little rough right now, but it'll get better. A page is learning, so it's in those learning stages. So your expectations are not too high, but start to look at how you're functioning and how you're expressing those expectations. Okay, I'm gonna hop back to Instagram, and then I'll come back, Rupali, for your question. Okay, so Instagram. Street Noise Books. Is the balance of work, family, and solitude that I have now the right balance? Is the balance of work, family, and solitude that you have right now the right balance? Work, family, and solitude, are they balanced appropriately right now? That's a yes. Ooh, yeah. So this is the King of Cups. I'm going to show it on YouTube also. That's such a yes, because King of Cups, cups are emotions and love. King of Cups is like the most stable emotionally. Like he's loving and deep and strong and stands up for things, but also knows when to like sit it out and let things ride and pass, hunker down in your alone. I mean, that's just a yes. That's so beautiful that this card comes out for that question. That's just straight up yes. I like it. Okay. All right, back to the YouTube questions. Rupali, is Jay coming back with intention to reconcile so as to have new strong foundation for having long-term relationship? Okay, so is he coming back in order to build a long-term relationship? Rupali, here you go. Is he coming back to build a long-term relationship? Okay, it's one of those like maybes, but it's mostly yes. I know that it comes out this way sometimes. So Rupali, this is the 2 of coins. Coins are pentacles. This is the earth element. This is tangible goods, okay? So I'm trying to show it on both. This is absolutely tangible goods. But what 2 of pentacles says is go slowly, keep it in balance. So 2 is patience, and it's under a full moon. So full moon is release what no longer serves your highest and greatest good. And the 2 of coins is also known as spirit in motion. It is a pure balance of humanity and divinity. I feel like the relationship on its human level probably functions pretty okay, but the relationship on a divine level, this always pushes to soul relationships or twin flame relationships. Twin flame relationships are not easygoing in like this perfect love story. It usually like heralds that there have been a lot of lifetimes together, a lot of baggage, and a lot of karma to clean up, that you are capable. It says, yes, you are capable. Is he coming back with that intention? I hear yes. You have to keep it in check. You have to keep the balance, go really slowly. Like this is like so slow. And that there's a lot of things to release in the relationship that no longer serves the highest and greatest good. Okay, so it is a yes. Do not jump up and down just yet. You will have to hold the boundary. And it's interesting, like off of this conversation about the sister wound, it's like these microaggressions that he doesn't even know he's doing. You guys, there's so many neat conversations in healing right now of that the men in our lives, as far as a patriarchal culture, they are functioning within ways they don't even know that they're functioning. They don't even know it's wrong. And it is a little bit like a wounded animal. So if you can work with him in true empathy and love and holding space for his highest development, not to fix him, but to allow for the shit he doesn't know that he's carrying around to unravel, then you can get into a really healthy, constructive space. So yes, he is coming back with the intention for a long-term relationship. He doesn't really know what that means. You're getting the card that says, go really slow, balance it, balance it, balance it. There's a lot of releasing to do and a lot of unraveling of old karmic patterns for both of you that you're both going to trigger really fast. So you can't hop into the relationship. You have to go like, okay, I see that and I hear that. And then I'm going to put that piece of coal back on your plate. And we're going to work this out. So yes, it could be really beautiful for long term. There's a lot of releasing and a lot of healing that needs to be done. And I hear that it has a lot to do with past karma. I actually hear that it's a twin flame relationship, and those are not simple. I'm married to one. The reward is great, but the work is for real. Okay. So there you go. All right. Oh, Paula, thank you for loving this tangent. More questions, you guys. On Instagram, it looks like we've got about 4 minutes. So if anybody else there wants to ask a question, like throw it up there. Type it up. Okay, moon magic. Am I getting back together with 1976 Capricorn? I love the codedness in here. Moon magic. Are you getting back together? 76 Capricorn. Okay, 2 cards fell out, and I can't not. Okay, hang on. Sometimes I need a minute to hear what's going on. All right, so are you getting back together with 76 Capricorn? This is a yes. Okay, so this is the Lover's card, right? This is like literally the spiritual. Okay, tripping over words. This is a soulmate card, right? And soulmates don't mean that they're soulmates for a lifetime. This means that you have karma together to complete, to work with, and this is a coming together. It's very literal, and it's masculine and feminine energies, and in relationship and hetero partnership, okay? So that's a yes. But this other card flew out that your question was, are you getting back together with 76 Capricorn? That does not denote a lifetime partnership. So yes, you're getting back together with them, but how long that lasts, I'm not really sure. And then the other card that flew out was the Hanged Man. Hanged Man asks you to look at it from different perspectives, to engage in ways that you might normally not. This also heralds restoration in readings with me, because inversions are restorative and replenishing, that you need to be really creative, and you also need to look at the question you ask versus what you really want to know. Do you want to know if they're a life partner? What sort of things need to be adjusted, turned on its head in order for that to work for the long term? Okay. Okay, and Connie, hi mama. Okay, I'm gonna grab your question before it times out on here on Instagram. I have an opportunity to move back to New York City. Should I take the leap of faith? Well, because I'm here, I say yes, but that's not what the cards say yet. So let me actually read for you. Okay, Connie, should you take the leap to come back to New York? Should you take the leap to come back to New York? Okay, a little card I see. That's a yes, and I didn't make this up. Okay, so this is Temperance. Temperance is a major arcana card. So this has to do with spiritual evolution, right? This has to do with soul evolvement. This has to do with baggage getting dropped and karma being burned. Temperance says 1 foot in the water, 1 foot on land, and it says for balance. So there's a yes here, because temperance is like, oh, angels coming out of heaven, right? That there's a great balance that's being offered to you by coming back. That's a yes. That was just a yes. It's a yes. It's a little bit ordained by the gods, honestly. Be clear. Okay? Okay. If Instagram times out, because I think we're at the end of it, we're still on YouTube for a few more minutes. But I love you guys, and I'm so happy you showed up today. For those of you who are on Instagrammies, if you ever feel the urge to share these videos, please do. It means a whole lot. Or to share my profile. I love you, and I'm grateful for it. And then if you're on YouTube while I'm shuffling and I'm getting to the next questions, if you guys can hit the like button, that would be really, really helpful. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do, okay? Every Tuesday, I'm going to do a bout of live tarot readings now, regardless of the tangent or the new or the full moon. So this will be a part of our Tuesdays now. All right, let's look at YouTube for the next questions. Chris, are you emotionally ready to drop your walls and barriers with Todd? Are you emotionally ready? Let's just say, are you ready to drop your barriers with Todd? This is for Chris. Oh, okay. Initially, this is a no. I'm going to show on Instagram too. This is one of my favorite cards. You guys probably think that all the cards are my favorite cards and all props and the workouts are my favorite props, but I love this card. This is a no, not yet. The Two of Swords always is a call to meditation, that you need to sit with yourself a little bit while longer. She sits in these tumultuous waters and in a dark crescent moon in this. So it's a lot about intuition. It's a lot about understanding like how you really feel at your gut level about things. This is like the badass card in my book, because she sits blindfolded with 2 swords and she's in meditation, and it says, I don't need to use my cognitive brain or the things that I can see. I always call out that like we process things brain's, like 98% visually, that when you take out vision, you're only left with what you can smell, what you think, what you feel, or what you can hear, right? And so it's a call to meditation, to sitting and getting really clear about what you feel. Okay, here's what I hear, Chris, is that you're ready, you want to be ready to be emotionally vulnerable. I don't think Todd's the person. And so if you drop it with him, drop these walls, you're going to end up getting weirdly hurt and think that it's not worthy or not worth it in order to be vulnerable. So you need to sit in meditation and get down to, I hear that that's not the real question, that you're emotionally ready to drop your barriers with this person. That's one of those two founded questions, right? Is it the person? Is it the timing? Is it, the wall dropping? You can drop walls without it being specific to a contingency. Does this make sense? I mean, that's a longer bit of it. So it's a no, but you need to sit in meditation and go, what are you really wanting? What's really the question? Emotional vulnerability, or is it this person? Okay. All right. So, Becky. Let's see. Oh, sorry. Spot on. You've been trying to reword and calm your energy when responding and getting your messages across. You have just encouraged. Yes. No, Becky, it's really clear. Like, you're on the right path. You have this higher, greater vision for your children. The way it's being executed is just like new and a little aggressive, and it's okay. Like, we're all allowed to make mistakes, and like, that's fail up, right? Like, you're working through it. It's a little much for them, but that's okay. Like, dial it down, learn how to wield the sword, learn how to wield your words, and you're in a good place. It's going to happen. So keep working at it. Taryn, is the next step I want to take the correct one for healing on your path at this time? Okay, Taryn, is the next step? I'm going to read it right, and then your reading's going to be better. Okay, is the next step that you want to take the correct one for your healing path at this time? Is the next step you want to take the correct one? Taryn, hello. That's a big old sunshiny yes. Leo, step into your full place in the sun. Yes, 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 yes. That's nothing but a big old yes. The sun is stepping into your true place in the sun, being totally empowered and vulnerable and out in the world in a big way. It denotes abundance. That's just yes. I don't have to do any more than that. There you go, Mama. Okay. Shauna, is it good timing to have a heart-to-heart with your bosses this week? Is it good timing to have a heart-to-heart with your bosses this week? That's a yes. This is Page of Cups. Lots of pages. I mean, maybe just two, but it feels like a lot. This is good. So it's a good timing to have a heart-to-heart. This is just a yes, right? Page of Cups. Cups being emotions and love and faith and flow and miracles and being in the flow with the cosmos. Page, again, is learning how to navigate these things. There's always a call to creativity in this card, but I pulled it out with your question. There's such a softness to it. Like, there's a real soft, you need to wait for the Cancer moon. Which is it tomorrow and the next day? Tomorrow and the next day. So it's going to be good in this Cancer moon because Cancer is the great mama energy, right? Cancer is the little crab that goes between the ocean and the sand. So there's something about those days in that Cancer moon that gives you the ability to tap into the kind of, empath psychic levels of things and their feelings, and also in the reality, and have a real conversation that I think there's going to be a creative solution come out of this. Okay? So that's a yes. But it's Cancer moon, so it's like, not today. Don't do it today. Tomorrow and the next day. Okay. Moon Magic, you're welcome. All right. Let's do 2 more questions, you guys. Okay. So Instagram is timed out. It's just YouTube right now. And if anybody else has a question to ask, 1 question per person, type it in a way that can be answered yes or no. And past that, I'll channel whatever information comes through. Okay. Everybody gets 1 question, just 1. Jen, feeling pulled to work healing and family priorities. Should I pursue a part-time job for the fall and work on heart path concurrently, or should I let all that go and focus on the heart path solely? Okay, I want to get it into one question instead of two questions. I guess the question we're going to go with is, should you pursue a part-time job? Because we know what that means. Either you got the side hustle, or if that's a no, then you have the main hustle. So Jen, should you pursue a part-time job? Okay, it's the justice card, right? We're still in this justice and judgment. Man, they just will not fail. Okay, sorry, I had to ask a little question in my brain. Should you pursue a part-time job? That's a yes, because the justice card at its basic and kind of, little bit pedantic lameness is about balance. You need basic income earning in order to really feel whole. So this isn't about not pursuing the heart path. This is about we're still on worthiness issues here of, that's a big thing, about you need to bring in income in order to feel worthy. And so it's a yes, because that's going to bolster your confidence and make you feel a little more stable emotionally. Because like you said, you don't need a part-time job. You don't need a part-time job. This is about, because, justice often is about the karmic balance of things, of equality for all and beauty and sensual pleasures. It is actually a sensual pleasure for you to make income. So yes, you can follow a part-time job. You are not getting out of the heart-centered path. You have to work it concurrently on the side, okay? You're one of these people that sometimes more is better. Like the more things you have to do, then you'll actually start to get them done. It's like when you have all the space, you're like, I don't know what to do first. And then it becomes issues of like unworthiness. Yeah, yes, with the part-time job. Interesting. Yes. Okay. Oh, good, Chris. Yeah, Two of Swords. I love her. And Chris. Oh, yeah, Chris, these readings really do confirm what you already think. I mean, this is the fabulous thing about readings, especially like intuitive channeled readings. Most of the time, you all do not need the answers. This is not giving you an answer. So it's just confirming what we already know. And confirmation is nice, right? We feel confident, we feel supported, we feel upheld, and we go, okay, I am on the right path. Confirmation through the cards teaches us to really rely on our intuition and the choices we're already making. So it's like, it ain't magic. I'm not telling you things really that you don't already know. It just gives you confirmation, and sometimes it gives you more goods where you're like, yes. Oh, that's why. Okay, that makes way more sense. Here we go, right? Okay, just reading the last bit here. Shauna, thank you. Oh, you're so welcome. Oh, good. Yeah, I think in a Cancer moon, because Cancer's so nurturing and loving, like maybe even take them a treat before you go talk to them, like appeal to the Cancerian nature of like letting everything be yummy and like soothing, and Jen, exactly. Yeah, I think you need some, you're a hustler, and I almost feel like you're one of those people, the more plates you've got, sometimes the better that you do. So cool. Very good. Yeah, you guys aren't relying on me. I'm not a fortune teller. I'm not in the least bit. You make your own damn choices. It just is confirmation, and that's nice, right? That's good. Okay, guys, it's 11:09. I'm going to go ahead and say I love you and goodbye for today. Thank you for letting me have my tangent at the beginning, and I always have them in service of you all, so hopefully it speaks to you and helps you on your path and gives you support and love and empowerment and some motivation for things. And I'm sure that these topics are going to keep coming. I feel like, sometimes they enter and then we work on them again, of course, because things are never done. I'd like to go back and really talk about doing the work. You can do the work, but it doesn't mean that you're going to heal. It doesn't mean you're healing. Everybody's capable of healing. So thank you for today, and I hope you love the tarot readings every Tuesday now. So we'll spend at least 15 minutes to 20 minutes on Instagram, and then I'm always happy to stay a little later on YouTube for them. What else? If you're in Brooklyn, May 18th, full moon ritual here. Those tickets are going, y'all. So if you want a space in them, tandygutierrez.com, go grab a ticket. And oh, good. I'm glad you guys love the tangent. Oh, good. I'm glad it's perfectly timed. Yeah, it just seemed like so loud that I was like, okay, I gotta say something. And what else? It's kind of a mild, quiet time. But if you're not a member over at UnicornWellness.Studio, please go activate the promo code for 30-day guest membership so that you can put the application in place on the mat, in the kitchen, in our monthly meditations, and in our monthly new and full moon tarot readings there. That's really, to me, the mat work is the anchor of this work, especially in healing, that it's practical. It anchors our intuitions in this physical world. And I got a lot to say about, workouts and movement and fitness in its space and in its place in our ascension and in our healing process, probably next Tuesday. So I love you all very much. Please like the video, please share, and please subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you next week. I love you. Bye.